In 1995, Dairy Queen was trying to become a full-service restaurant. They had the most famous frozen treat in America, loyal customers who drove miles for a blizzard, and corporate executives convinced they could expand into hot food. On paper, it actually worked. It didn't. Dairy Queen wasn't built to flip burgers. The problem wasn't execution. The problem was identity. It looked like a restaurant, but it was a dessert shop, and those two don't coexist. And for a moment, it worked. Not because the food was good, but because people already loved the brand. This isn't a story about bad menu expansion. It's a story about corporate schizophrenia. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Okay, time to see how America's sweetest success story turned into a hot mess on a bun. It all started with a father and son team who stumbled onto ice cream perfection by accident. In 1938, John Fremont McCullough and his son Bradley were experimenting with a new way to serve ice cream at their family dairy in Green River, Illinois. The pair had been tinkering with different formulas and temperatures, searching for something that would set them apart in the crowded dairy market. What they discovered was almost magical. Customers went absolutely wild for ice cream served immediately after churning, before it hardened in freezers. The texture was impossibly smooth, the flavor more intense, and the experience unlike anything available elsewhere. Recognizing they were onto something revolutionary, the McCulloughs partnered with ice cream equipment salesman Harry Oltz. Together, they developed a specialized machine that could consistently dispense soft serve at exactly 23 degrees Fahrenheit, precisely 5 degrees warmer than regular hard-packed ice cream. That seemingly minor temperature difference created the signature, creamy texture that would eventually build an empire. On a sweltering summer day, June 22nd, 1940, they opened the first Dairy Queen in Joliet, Illinois. The name was not random. It came from their passionate belief that dairy was the queen of all foods, nutritious, versatile, and beloved. Within mere hours of opening their doors, they had sold over 1,600 servings at 5 cents each. Word spread through town like wildfire. The genius of Dairy Queen was not just the product itself, it was the performance aspect. Watching that perfect swirl emerge from the machine became part of the experience. Parents brought their kids not just for ice cream, but for the show. Children pressed their faces against the counter glass, mesmerized as servers pulled levers and created those perfect white peaks. It was not just dessert, it was affordable entertainment. By 1947, barely 7 years after that first store opened, there were already 100 locations scattered across the Midwest. Each one became a small-town destination, the place where communities gathered, where first dates happened, where Little League teams celebrated regardless of whether they won or lost. Dairy Queen wasn't selling ice cream, they were selling Americana in a cone. The business model was remarkably forward-thinking for its time. Instead of building company-owned stores, the McCulloughs embraced franchising, allowing local entrepreneurs to bring Dairy Queen to their communities while maintaining strict quality control. This approach allowed for rapid expansion without massive corporate investment. More importantly, it embedded Dairy Queen into the local fabric of each town, making it feel less like a chain and more like a neighborhood institution. By the 1980s, Dairy Queen had become the undisputed king of frozen treats in America. Over 4,000 locations dotted the landscape, serving as unofficial summer headquarters where families gathered after Little League games and teenagers spent their allowances on something cold and sweet. The red roof and blue logo had become as recognizable as any symbol in American commerce. But even empires need reinvention. In 1985, everything changed with a product that wasn't just new, it was revolutionary. The Blizzard wasn't just another menu item, it was a cultural phenomenon that redefined what ice cream could be. The concept was brilliantly simple. Blend soft serve with candy pieces, cookies, or fruit, then serve it so thick that it could be held upside down without spilling. The signature upside-down test became pure theater in every store. Servers would flip freshly made Blizzards upside down before handing them to customers, a dramatic flourish that never failed to elicit gasps from children and laughter from adults. It was Instagram-worthy decades before Instagram existed. Dairy Queen sold an astonishing 175 million blizzards in that first year alone, creating lines that stretched around buildings and down blocks. The Oreo Blizzard, in particular, became so wildly popular that it actually increased nationwide Oreo sales by a measurable percentage. Nabisco executives were reportedly baffled by the sudden surge in cookie demand until they traced it back to Dairy Queen's mixing machines. Other candy manufacturers soon began courting Dairy Queen for similar partnerships. The business world took notice of this remarkable success story. In 1998, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway purchased Dairy Queen for $585 million. Buffett called it one of America's enduring brands. By then, Dairy Queen was generating over $4 billion in system-wide sales across nearly 6,000 locations. The Oracle of Omaha recognized what millions of Americans already knew. Dairy Queen wasn't just a business, it was a cultural institution. The brand had achieved something magical in marketing terms: automatic association. Summer meant Dairy Queen. Celebration meant Dairy Queen. Hot weather meant that iconic red roof and that perfect swirl of soft-serve happiness. The connection was so strong that many locations in cold weather states could close during winter months and yet remain profitable overall. Store designs evolved during this period to emphasize the frozen treat experience. Open kitchens allowed customers to watch their blizzards being made. Bright colors and family-friendly seating encouraged lingering. The menu expanded to include a variety of frozen treats, dilly bars, Buster bars, Dairy Queen sandwiches, but all centered around the core product, that perfect soft serve. Dairy Queen had found the sweet spot between nostalgia and innovation. They maintained the classic soft serve that customers had loved for generations, while constantly introducing new blizzard flavors to keep the experience fresh. Limited time offerings created urgency. Seasonal flavors gave customers reasons to return throughout the year. It was textbook brand management, evolving while staying true to core identity. But success breeds restlessness, and by the early 1990s, corporate executives began seeing dollar signs beyond dairy. Dairy Queen's leadership looked at their massive customer base and saw untapped potential waiting to be monetized. The question haunting boardroom discussions became increasingly persistent. Why should people only visit for dessert? Why not capture breakfast, lunch, and dinner too? The fast food landscape was evolving rapidly around them. McDonald's was expanding beyond burgers with salads and premium coffee. Taco Bell was experimenting with breakfast options. Wendy's was pushing quality improvements. Everyone was fighting for a larger slice of America's food budget, and Dairy Queen executives felt increasing pressure to evolve or risk being left behind in a consolidating industry. The first warning signs appeared in the form of franchisee resistance. While corporate pushed expensive kitchen equipment upgrades and expanded menus, many franchise owners, particularly those who had operated successful locations for decades, pushed back forcefully. They knew their customers intimately and understood that people came for ice cream, not hamburgers. Installing grills and fryers meant higher overhead, more staff training, more complex operations, and questionable returns. Market research commissioned during this period revealed an uncomfortable truth that executives were reluctant to accept. Customers had already categorized Dairy Queen in their minds, and changing that perception would be extraordinarily difficult. Focus groups consistently showed that people planned Dairy Queen trips after eating dinner elsewhere, not instead of dinner. The brand lived firmly in the dessert section of America's mental map, and no amount of marketing seemed capable of relocating it. "People don't think about us for lunch," lamented one internal memo from 1994. "They think about us for after lunch." This cognitive placement presented a fundamental challenge that many executives underestimated or outright ignored. Meanwhile, real competition was emerging in Dairy Queen's core business: frozen treats. Premium ice cream shops like Häagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's were gaining popularity in urban areas. Grocery stores offered increasingly sophisticated options for at-home consumption. New players like Cold Stone Creamery were redefining the ice cream shop experience with mix-ins prepared on marble slabs. For the first time in decades, Dairy Queen's dominance in frozen treats faced legitimate challenges. Rather than doubling down on what they did best and reinforcing their frozen treat supremacy, corporate leadership made a fateful decision. They would transform Dairy Queen from a treat destination into a full-service, quick-service restaurant. The brazier concept, named for the cooking equipment, had existed since the 1960s in some locations, but now it would become the company-wide focus. Internal resistance continued to mount. At franchise conventions, heated arguments broke out between corporate representatives and store owners. Longtime operators warned that customers were not asking for expanded food options. They were asking for more Blizzard flavors. But the corporate ship had already changed course and the iceberg was dead ahead. The push for hot food reached its peak with the ambitious grill and chill concept introduced in the late 1990s. Corporate mandated that locations install expensive kitchen equipment, expand their menus to include burgers, chicken strips, hot dogs, and other standard fast food fare, and essentially rebrand themselves as full-service restaurants rather than treat shops. The rollout was nothing short of disastrous from day one. Franchisees complained bitterly about the massive upfront costs. Some locations spent upwards of $100,000 retrofitting their kitchens with grills, fryers, and expanded prep areas. For many small-town operators, this represented years of profit suddenly diverted to an unproven concept. Training staff to properly prepare hot food while maintaining ice cream quality proved nearly impossible, particularly in locations that relied heavily on teenage seasonal workers. The skill sets were entirely different. One required carefully controlling grill temperatures and cooking times. The other, mastering the perfect soft-serve swirl. Service times doubled as employees juggled both responsibilities, leading to frustrated customers waiting in longer lines. But the fundamental problem was not operational, it was perceptual. Food critics consistently rated Dairy Queen's hot food offerings as mediocre at best, with many comparing the burgers unfavorably to gas station quality options. A scathing review in a major newspaper described the signature cheeseburger as a sad, thin patty that tastes like it was cooked yesterday and reheated in a microwave. Another reviewer called the chicken strips indistinguishable from frozen grocery store varieties, but twice the price. Customers who trusted Dairy Queen implicitly for blizzards simply did not extend that trust to bacon cheeseburgers. The cognitive dissonance was too great. The place they associated with sweet treats was suddenly asking them to believe in savory excellence. Many tried the food offerings once out of curiosity, but rarely returned for a second burger. The numbers told the brutal truth as quarterly reports filtered back to headquarters. While ice cream sales remained relatively steady, hot food never contributed more than 20% of most locations' revenue, despite taking up 60% of menu space and requiring 70% of equipment investment. The economics simply did not work. Many franchisees quietly stopped promoting the grill menu, focusing instead on what actually worked: frozen treats. Some even covered up or removed hot food signage while emphasizing Blizzard promotions. It became an open secret within the system that the grill and chill concept was failing, but corporate pride prevented a timely course correction. By 2004, hundreds of locations were struggling financially. Some franchisees openly rebelled against corporate mandates, refusing to install required equipment or update signage. Others simply closed their doors rather than continue pouring money into a concept that customers had clearly rejected. In one particularly telling case, a Minnesota location removed all hot food options, returned to a treats-only menu, and saw sales increase by 22% the following quarter. The tension between corporate vision and market reality had reached a breaking point. Dairy Queen had spent millions on advertising campaigns trying to convince America they were a burger destination, but America was not buying it. In the battle between corporate strategy and customer perception, perception won decisively. Today, Dairy Queen still operates over 7,000 locations worldwide, but the ambitious grill and chill dream has largely been abandoned in all but name. Most locations have quietly returned to what they do best, serving America's favorite frozen treats, with the occasional hot food option as a secondary consideration, not the main attraction. The brand has found renewed success by embracing its true identity rather than fighting against it. New menu innovations now focus primarily on variations of their core strength, different Blizzard flavors, specialty sundaes, and innovative frozen treats. When they do serve hot food, it is positioned as a complimentary side option, not the centerpiece of the Dairy Queen experience. Warren Buffett, still the owner through Berkshire Hathaway, has publicly acknowledged that Dairy Queen's strength lies in its specialization and heritage. He said, "People don't go to Dairy Queen for a great burger. They go for a great blizzard and the experience that comes with it. This pragmatic recognition of brand reality has helped stabilize the company after its identity crisis. The grill and chill experiment now serves as a masterclass in the dangers of brand stretching and ignoring customer perception. MBA programs regularly feature Dairy Queen's hot food pivot as a cautionary tale about the risks of abandoning core competencies. Dairy Queen learned the hard way that customer perception beats corporate ambition every time, and that sometimes the best strategy isn't expansion, it's perfection of what you already do well. The locations that survived the tumultuous period were typically those that never fully embraced the hot food pivot, maintaining their focus on frozen treats while making minimal concessions to corporate directives. The franchisees who resisted turned out to be right. They understood their local markets better than distant executives. Perhaps most tellingly, Dairy Queen's marketing has returned to its emotional core, selling happiness and nostalgia, not food value. Recent advertising campaigns focus on the DQ moment, that perfect summer day with family or friends, celebrating life's little victories with something sweet. They've reclaimed their place in American culture not as a restaurant, but as a destination for celebration and indulgence. Today, when you see that iconic red roof and blue sign, you know exactly what you're getting. The same perfect swirl of soft serve that John McCullough perfected over 80 years ago. The signature upside-down blizzard test still delights new generations of customers. The core experience remains unchanged despite decades of corporate tinkering. Dairy Queen's story isn't just about ice cream, it's about the power of authentic brand identity. When they tried to be something they weren't, they failed. When they embraced what made them special in the first place, they thrived. It's a lesson that continues to resonate in corporate boardrooms everywhere. In the end, Dairy Queen didn't need to become a burger joint to survive. They just needed to be the best version of what they already were. America's favorite place for that perfect swirl of soft-serve happiness. So, what do you think? Did you ever try a Dairy Queen burger back in the day? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other videos about fast food identity crises.